And welcome to All for United once again. What can I say? We are back after yet another fabulous match. Both these guys have watched it, which is really, really helpful because they're going to be the ones dissecting it whilst I sit here and try and pose interesting questions that might potentially provoke a little bit of debate, but maybe not to the level that we ended up going to on Tuesday. We'll see, but I can't imagine these two going hammer and tongs. How are we both? You all right down there, young Benny? Nice to have you back.
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Just wondering where the Bearded Brothers gone. What's with the shaving?
Well, like I said, just have to lose it every once in a while, let it grow back organically. Looks a bit silly otherwise. I don't wear a cap, you see, so it just ends up looking like my head's on upside down. It's not ideal. And Dan, lovely to have you back as well. How are you doing, sir? He's muted. Talking about a beard, though. I think that was sign language for my beard. Let me do that.
Mute me then.
There you go.
Yeah, I've had a shave today, so I'm feeling good.
There you go, you see. So I had my shave so that Dan didn't feel left out. That's what it was, right there. Coolio. Right, United 1, Brentford 0. That was the scoreline. And I've got to be honest, was hopeful we'd have scored a few more. We didn't. But Ben, I think the general consensus that I seem to get from the match-going fans that I've spoken to was that we could have. We absolutely could have had a much more comfortable ride than we ended up having. Is that something you would subscribe to?
Yeah, I think so, mate. Before the match started, I was just chatting to a few friends as you do before the game. And I said, I don't care about the performance tonight. We just need the 3 points, and the 3 points are the most vital thing. And it's a big, big, huge 3 points. When Newcastle battering West Ham last night, we need to make sure we continue to pick up points. We do still look a little bit tired, a little bit jaded, but on the whole, it was a lot better, a lot better than the Newcastle game. We've seen a lot more of the ball, players wanting the ball a lot more as well, whereas some may have not really wanted it too much against Newcastle. I think it's fair to say, some may have went into hiding a little bit. Whereas this match, everyone stood up and counted. I thought McTominay was brilliant. He was one of those that got absolutely lambasted, I think, for his performance from a large sector of supporters against Newcastle. But last night I thought it was brilliant. Mr. Bitzer seemed to me, he might have probably taken that match just to fine tune their sort of understanding in their role and partnerships together. Sometimes, when you haven't played with a player too much, you bang the starting 11 and it's not quite clicking. Sometimes it can take a little bit of time to click. But I thought he clicked very well last night. McTominay listen, you know what you get with McTominay. He's a solid player, whether people will argue, does he deserve to be a starter? Possibly not, but he's a good squad player. You need them squad players to create your big squad depth, and he's a reliable player. He'll never let you down. He never shirks a tackle. Yeah, people might say he maybe picked up a needless booking, but it's all about getting stuck in for the cause, and that sometimes it gets labelled at McTominay that sometimes he doesn't get stuck in too often. He often goes far wanting, but I thought last night it was absolutely perfect. The tempo was great. He's still not 100% full flowing. I still think there's a few tired legs and a few tired minds out there. Considering the amount of football we played after the World Cup, it doesn't surprise me. But on the whole, mate, the 3 points is the most important thing. It's vital that we keep picking up the 3 points. We've got some big games ahead. I'm looking, obviously, we look towards our next game, but I'm looking a little bit further ahead in Tottenham. So we keep on picking up our 3 points, it's vital that we do that as we roll into Tottenham away, because that's going to be a very, very big game. And obviously, I know we've got a couple of games and over Tottenham still as well, but it's still important that we go into that Tottenham game on the back of keep picking up 3 points every single game we play up until the Tottenham game. It's because that's where top 4 could be won or lost there. at Spurs, because obviously I can't see Newcastle dropping out the top four. To be fair, I think they've all of a sudden again they picked up momentum again. They started to hammer teams left, right, and centre and start picking up the points after a little bit of a dip. They've had a little bit of a dip. We've had a little bit of a dip now. Let's hope that we now are on that. We're riding that high crest wave up to try and pick up our 3 points and try and pick up going into a very, very important, really, really important month now. It's a big month for Manchester United. And all we could do is just keep picking up the wins. I know people ideally what I see performances, what I see beautiful, sexy football. But at the end of the day, this time and the nitty-gritty time of the season, where there are tired legs, there is tired minds, and our squad is possibly not as big as those around us, is in terms of squad depth and players that you can trust. And we've got injuries and we've had suspensions and everything. Casemiro will be is his last match that he's going to be missing. So, and it'll be huge going into those up and coming games after Everton. So, and Eriksen hopefully might be involved for Everton, which we'll get onto later. But just all about just keeping them tired minds and tired legs going with positive 3-point results.
Absolutely. Sounds absolutely spot on to me. It's Man United based, so I'm going to throw it out there. But England women have just taken the lead against Brazil women, thanks to Ella Toon. She scored a goal. So thought I'd throw that one out.
Based, she one of us.
Exactly. Wish she'd score for us as well, correct. However, Dan, Connor here has put, first of all, he's put, Dan looks fresh today. We've just been talking about...
Where's your comment about you look fresh as well?
That's what I mean. Connor. I was just going to say.
Oh, there you go. He's popped up there.
Taking my advice. He didn't even know that I had shaved, I don't think, unless he was watching last night. But anyway, Dan, here we go. Connor's put the women's the most important thing, which is exactly what Benny's just said. Couldn't afford to keep dropping points. Is that how you would subscribe to it too? That ultimately it didn't matter if it was 1-0 or 10-9, just getting the win was the most important thing? He's done it again. It's definitely you this time. It's not a me thing.
I'm myself this time. I'm on fire. No, I definitely subscribe to that as well. We needed, especially after Newcastle. I personally thought Newcastle didn't get enough credit at the weekend. Thought they battered us from start to finish. We just weren't at it at all. So you needed some sort of reaction in terms of performance. We definitely got that. We all sat here, 3 days ago and said that we'd struggled to keep the football. And we didn't. We was absolutely really good on the football. I took a shot at David De Gea about his just in general play. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Apart from the one little blip that he had where he took too long on the ball, which is to be expected if you're going to play that kind of football. But him coming off his line at crosses and demanding, commanding his area a bit more really helped. We got on the ball, and I'd agree with the McTominay thing as well. He looked like he shied away against Newcastle, like he didn't want the ball, like he didn't want to be part of the build-up, etc. He wasn't getting stuck in. And we see him do it so often for Scotland that you would question why he wasn't doing it for United. But I thought, other than Rashford, I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch yesterday. I'm glad that we won. I'm still anxious in terms of changes. So we saw Shaw go off yesterday, injured. And it worries me that players are being overplayed and we need to sort of make a few more rotations. We've definitely, I agree that we haven't got the depth of some other teams, but there is still depth there that could be used if we lay a little bit more trust at the door. But I think that every game, in essence, that we play between now and the end of the season is massive, especially now we've been dragged back into a top 4 race. So you can see, we spoke about it and we were talking maybe Lindelof as DM and all these fancy changes and chances. And in the end, he did exactly what we thought he would. 1 or 2 changes. I think it was just the 1 in the end. Strongest possible lineup. And he'll do the same against Everton. And he'll carry on in that vein. The performance was, I thought it was good. So I've seen on the internet this morning and Twitter and everything else that not that he wasn't good, but he wasn't as good as I seem to think in my head. So I've gone back and watched a bit, and I thought he was good. Well, I think Brentford only had 1 shot on target all game. We really limited them in terms of play. In essence, we passed them to death and just didn't create enough in the final third. So I thought overall, I'm surprised Brentford sat off as much as they did, to be honest. But I'll take the 3 points all day long, to be honest. It's what we need to keep doing. We need to keep pushing forward. Just the faster we can wrap up a top 4 spot so we can do a bit more rotation, the better. And we're only going to do that by just winning games, and it doesn't matter how.
Fair point. I mean, you talk about the shots, 6 in total they had, only 1 on target, 1 was blocked, and the other 4 were nowhere near troubling anyone. We will get on to David De Gea. I do have a few questions with regards to him, but as we put on the thumbnail, there was only one place to start. The last time I was on this channel on Sunday, we were talking about Weghorst, and I'd hit a point. I can't watch him be the focal point at the front of the line for us anymore, because we're not getting the goals. And ultimately, if you're going to play that position, for all the work you put in, you've got to be scoring goals. And I was delighted to see Marcus Rashford put there, because that's what I called for. I said, stick Marcus there. He's the most informed striker we've got at the moment, the best chance we've got there of putting the ball in the back of the net. He's likely to take more of the chances that Mr. Weghorst wasn't quite putting away. That's what happened, and he did score quite a good goal, to be fair. Nicely worked. What was your take on the goal, Benny, and what was your thoughts on Rashford starting in that focal point rather than out on the left?
I think I called. Well, I didn't call it. I said to my son, I thought Rashford would start on the left and Martial would be through the centre. I knew that Weghorst wouldn't have started this game, just on the back of the Newcastle performance. And it's not Weghorst's fault, really. You know, you can't deny him. You can't begrudge him signing for Manchester United. You know, anybody's going to jump at the chance of signing for Manchester United. But I just don't think he's what we particularly need up top every single game, or just starting every single game. I think he's probably more useful as a bench player, coming off as a bit of a super sub, creating a bit of havoc up there, or if we're winning a tight game, say 2-1, we need to hold the ball up top. So, you know, someone that that can maybe hold the ball a little bit better than more of your attack-minded players that like to go and attack the opposition instead of maybe looking to hold it a little bit and play others in and around him. But Rashford, listen, I've always said you either play him up top, you know, through the middle, or you play him on the left. I don't like seeing him on the right. I don't think you get the best out of him on the right-hand side at all. It's either on the left or through the centre. And I'm glad that we started him through the middle, because the runs that he makes off the ball, some people may notice it, some people may not notice. He's very, very clever. He's always looking to get in behind. He's always shuffling from left to right. He never stays stuck glued to the centre. He's always buzzing in and around, always looking for the ball, always looking to make the movement off the ball, you know, for your likes of your Brunos or just a bits as whoever it may be that are on the ball at the particular time to try and thread one through to him. And I just think sometimes we're a little bit too slow and just picking up his movement. I think Rashford would love playing with Paul Scholes. Scholes, he would have seen him on a dime every time. Them little runs. I just think we need to. I think that'll probably improve when Eriksen's fit and firing back ready, and Casemiro as well. Those players that they've got that footballing intelligence, that footballing brain, just to know when to release the ball at the right times. So I think that it'll only even benefit Marcus Rashford even more once those two are back in the team. Especially Eriksen. Eriksen could thread a ball through the eye of a needle with his eyes closed. I just think. On his goal, very well taken again. Does not thinking it, not overcomplicating like he was probably last season, where he's overthinking it or trying to overcomplicate his game. Listen, he's got it and he's absolutely smashed that into the roof of the net, and that's all you can ask for your strikers, to make sure you hit the target every single time, or at least make the goalkeeper work. And listen, that's 28 for the season now for Marcus Rashford. He's still got a lot of time to go. Can he rate? I said to him 30 would be a great season. I said at the start of the season, if Rashford get to the 30 mark, knowing him deep down, I thought he probably gets to the 20 mark. Can he get to that 30 mark? And he's 2 goals off that 30 mark now. Can he get to the 35 mark before the end of the season? Still plenty of games to play yet. Still in cup competitions, so still plenty of chances for Rashford to get on that goal scoring sheet. But it's interesting when Martial came on. Rashford and Martial have an understanding as well, a little bit of a unique understanding there. They're always looking for each other. They always know where each other's likely to be. And the good thing about when Rashford plays, whether it'll be with Martial, Sancho, Garnacho, whoever it is in and around him, is you know that Marcus Rashford it's the movement, it's the fluidity. He's not just standing there in one position, waiting for the ball to come to him, and he's not one-dimensional. Maybe like Weghorst, maybe sometimes a little bit one-dimensional. You know, Weghorst he likes to drop deep, link up the play a little bit. Whereas Marcus is always trying to move his opponents with him, you know, shuffle the pack a little bit, as it were. And it's crazy understanding he's got with Martial. And I picked up with that a lot when Martial came on. Him and Rashford are always buzzing around each other, always changing positions. If Martial's through the middle at one point, Rashford's on the left. Then the next phase of attack, Rashford's gone through the middle, Martial's spun right up to the left. Rashford may pick the ball up from deep on the left-hand side. Martial pulls to the left, receives the ball. Rashford then dinks through the centre. It's very, very clever play, and it's probably even more so when Martial's on the pitch. I don't think he has quite that understanding with Sancho yet. When Sancho's on the left, it's through the centre where they interchange and they like to swap a little bit more. I don't think that's Sancho's game, to be fair. As much as it's Martial's, where Martial likes to come through. But listen, Marcus has proven a lot of people wrong this season, and I'm happy that he is, because I've always been big fan of Marcus Rashford, and I'm just glad that he's proving those people that wanted him sold, as people that calling him Marcus Rashford and all this other rubbish. He's absolutely making him eat their words this season, and I'm just happy to see it, mate.
Absolutely. Fair points made there. Country Facts and Conferences, which is a bit of a mouthful of a name there. Bet you're fun at parties with that. Here's my friend, Conferences. Can't wait for Eriksen, Casemiro and Sabitzer triad. We can smoke any team with that. Plus Rashford, Sancho, Martial, super deadly. I've got to be honest, I think we're all waiting for the opportunity to see that midfield trio for sure. Dan, we've spoken a little bit about Rashford there and how well he's performed in that game. That was his 121st goal of his career. And the learned amongst you will know that now puts him level with Sir Andrew of Cole, he of 1999 treble fame. Everything that Benny just said there about how he's proved a lot of his doubters wrong. I mean, to score, granted it took him a few more games than Coley, but to get the amount of goals that Andrew Cole has scored is quite something, really, when you consider just how good Andy Cole was for us.
Yeah, for sure. I've said it before. I personally think that Rashford's underrated in the terms of it's very easy to the world class is thrown around way too much in football for me. And you can have these discussions once a player retires, in my opinion. But in the last 4 seasons, for 3 of them, he's been excellent. He's hit over 25 goals and assists in 3 of the last 4 seasons. I think I was reading somewhere that he's on 28 goals for the season now, and if he scores 1 more, that's the most in a single season of any player since Ferguson quit, resigned.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, which is madness. And like Benny says, we've got quite a few more games left yet. My issue with Rashford is that there's a sneaking suspicion we're becoming very reliant on him. And it's a big worry for me, because if he was to, touch wood that he doesn't, but if he was to pick up an injury, I'm not sure where the goals are going to come from. And I thought, to be honest, yesterday's performance was indicative of that. If Rashford wasn't going to score, I didn't really see where the goal was going to come from. And the finish for his goal, by the way, last year he tries to lace that and probably misses. The coolness in which he took it on the side foot shows how far he's come. I bet Benny McCarthy definitely had something to do with that finish. He's calmed himself down, and he didn't need anything other than technique to get power, and he took his time. Goal. But I'm just a little bit worried that we're over-reliant on him. We could do with some of the forward players, and Martial's going to do it to us all again. He's going to come back in. He's going to play well. He's going to fit the team. We're going to have a fluid front 3, and then he's going to get injured, and I'm going to be fuming. But we just need a couple of players to play themselves into form even if it's just to get a few goals. Like the Weghorst thing is an interesting one for me because I've maintained it for a while now. I don't think he's brilliant for the team and he gives everything, etc. And he'll play a role that he needs to play, but he just doesn't work if he hasn't got Fernandes as that second press. He doesn't work. So if you remove Fernandes from behind him for the second part of the press isn't there. So he's pressing on his own and he barely sees the ball because Fernandes has had to drop deep into the 8 to keep the ball or whatever. But obviously, with the injuries we've got. But yeah, I'm hoping, I'm praying that Martial can come into the team, and because that Martial back full form for the last 10 games of the season would be absolutely fantastic for us. I would say that as well, if Rashford can hit 35, we will lift another trophy if he can do that. I think that would be a sort of target for him. I think he's been fantastic obviously he broke his back. He had a terrible injury. He was playing injured last season, and I suppose this is the difference between him and Martial as well. Rashford was playing through injuries that probably he shouldn't have played through. He probably should have took a break sooner. Martial sort of like scrapes a leg and he's out for 6 weeks. So it's finding the middle ground. But we just need to sort of wrap Rashford in cotton wool. We need to rest him when he needs resting. If he's tired, don't risk it. It'll be interesting to see what we do going forward, but he's obviously going to be absolutely massive for us come the end of the season.
It's like you've read where I'm going with it, because I thought I'd have a little look, actually, in terms of current serving players, the number of goals they've scored, because like you, I've been incredibly worried. If we had no Marcus Rashford, I think we could possibly be sitting there alongside Chelsea, wondering what's going on either side and just having a bit of a nothing season, really. So I thought I'd take a look at it. So Rashford scored 121. Martial, despite the fact he spends as much time in the 6-yard box as he does in A&E, has also got 85, which isn't too bad, really, when you consider how long he's been playing for. Fernandes has got 60, which should give you an idea of just how unreal of a player Bruno Fernandes really has been.
Fernandes was the other player that was on 28. I think it's Zlatan scored 28, and Fernandes scored 28, and now Rashford's level with them, and obviously one more, and he's overtook them since Fergie retired.
Which would not surprise me, because
No,
the guy was just superb when he came in for us. And then after that, you've got, who shall not be named. Then we've got Scott McTominay, 18 goals.
Wow.
So once you get past Rashford, Martial, Fernandes, you're looking at Scott McTominay with 18, Fred with 14, Sancho with 10 out of his 65 games. Then you really are getting to our current level, because you've got Anthony with 7. People have a go at him, but there he is. He's already in our top 10 goal scorers in the current team. And he's only your squad, exactly, not even just team. Guess who else is on 7? Sir Harry of Maguire.
Oh, fantastic.
He's there as well. So he's weighed in. Phil Jones, if you please, with 6.
Wow.
And I think when you start, and I don't say this to be sensationalist, the point I'm making is if I'm starting to get to these names for people that are still in the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, up to Phil Jones, top 10, that's a bit scary.
Very.
Expect even this season, you bring in a Weghorst, he scored 2, which is the same for Donny van der Beek. He's also scored 2, and I don't really recall him being on the pitch. Wan-Bissaka scored 2, Dallow's scored 2, Christian Eriksen has scored 2, and he's only played 31 games. So we've got some young up-and-comers, Casemiro, for example, with 5. Then you've got Garnacho, Elanga as well, and even Luke Shaw have got 4. But it's just not there, is it, Benny, at the moment? We are definitely going to need somebody else this summer to come in, because we're in danger of doing a Spurs here and becoming a bit of a one-man team.
Absolutely. We need somebody else in. And a good old-fashioned out-and-out goal scorer knows where the back of the net is. If that's Harry Kane or whoever else it may be, then bring him in. We've got to bring him in. She need an old-fashioned goal scorer, mate. Someone knows where the back of the net is. A Van Nistelrooy type player. Now, is there how many are going to be available in the summer? You know, is another question. Have we got the funds in the summer? Another question as well. But we definitely need someone else to help score the goals. Martial, unfortunately, has been said, he can't seem to keep himself fit. Because a fit Martial, fully fit Martial, would be, and if he could keep himself fully fit, I'd still keep him around next season. Martial, you've been in a proper, old-fashioned goal scorer, a number 9, like a Harry Kane, for example, for argument's sake. And you have Martial and Rashford in around him as well. There's 3 players there that score goals. So I just think we can't be over reliant on one person. If God forbid, if anything happens to Rashford between now and the end of the season, we're up shit creek without a paddle, aren't we? It's very, very scary that Weghorst has come in and done a job for the manager. He's done what he's asked of him, but he was never a prolific goal scorer. He wasn't a prolific goal scorer at Burnley either. Yes, he might have scored a few goals in the Turkish league, but that's not the Premier League, though, is it? We need somebody, whether it is of Premier League experience in Harry Kane and somebody that we know score goals for fun in the English game and in Europe and on international stage, or do you go looking somewhere else in Europe, or looking for the up and coming next big things? Whatever it may be.
It's not just Weghorst, is it? I mean, because I know I mentioned him
No,
a lot.
No, it's not just Weghorst.
Garnacho, only 4. He's still too young.
Garnacho's a kid. He's going to be, and he's not a striker. He's a winger.
Now.
Garnacho's not a striker. He's a winger. You're not going to get goals from. You can't be over reliant on Garnacho as an 18-year-old kid to score your goals left, right, and centre. He's going to be inconsistent at times as well, because that's what 18-year-olds are. Anthony, again, he's a winger. He's not a striker. Yes, he's going to chip in with a certain amount of goals a season. If Anthony could chip in get into double figures, I'd be happy every season. But I'm not looking for him to score goals. I'm looking for him to create a bit more. And that's the one thing that it frustrates me about Anthony sometimes, that he's got the opportunity to create, and he might have a wild shot, or he might try and cut back inside because he's all one-footed. If you can perfect his unfavoured foot, or at least play a little bit of football on it, he'd be a smashing player, honestly. But I'm not looking for him to score goals. Bruno's he's done fantastic with the amount of goals he's scored. But again, he was the one-man show. He was the Marcus Rashford a couple of years ago. Everything was running through Bruno. Everything was over-reliant on Bruno scoring goals and creating them opportunities. We need more. We need a few more like that will step up. And it's not just in the striking areas. We need another midfielder. I'm convinced of it. Whether he'll sign Sabitzer or whether he'll go back and sign somebody else, who knows in the summer. But I think we need another midfielder as well in there that can also contribute in scoring goals and creating chances, because you can't keep over-reliant on Bruno. You can't keep over-reliant on Casemiro. You can't keep over-reliant on Eriksen. As we've seen, suspensions and injuries have outdone us this season. We need to be fully looking to stock various different positions and those players to give us the opportunities to create as well as score goals. Because sometimes on the creative side, we're taking one touch too many, or we're turning back inside. The ball's not going forward quick enough, because we're over reliant on Bruno. If Bruno plays deep, we're having midfield players that's a bit to go, I don't know what to do. I'll tell you, easy thing is I'll drop back to Bruno, try and let Bruno create from deep. And it's like, yeah, but Bruno needs to be up there to create, and it's just that there's sometimes an over-reliance on your better players. Yeah, it happens in football all the time. Your world-class quality players always going to see a lot more of the ball. People are always going to be comfortable at giving the ball to them. But I like to see a little bit more responsibility from others around that side, around the team, shall we say, Can I maybe go look for a player in an attacking position a little bit more? Can I release that ball to Rashford a bit quicker? And others, and that goes the same across that front line. If you're an Anthony Langer, I've not had a sniff this season, really. What's Rashford been doing? What's changing his game? Can I maybe talk to Benny McCarthy? What can I do to improve? How can I get myself to that elite level? How can I be a bit more greedy when I'm up front, instead of trying to pass sometimes we're a bit criminal at doing that. I think if that's the right word, criminal. Whereas we're in a great position, the final third. We're trying to pass it through the teams. They're taking a shot there. We're trying to pass it across the 5-yard area, and all we're doing is tapping it to the keeper, or the defenders are, clearing it with ease. Why are we not just taking a little shot there? Just to test the keeper. Just by how good he is. How good is his reaction on its near post? Instead of trying to play it across the 5-yard area and it's cleared, or the keeper's easily scooped it up, whatever it may be. Just a little bit more confidence in players. I see that a little bit more. Martial, I'm convinced of it. As soon as he's fit and if he keeps himself fit, fingers crossed, and he gets that one goal, I think you start seeing a little bit of a hunger back there. Elanga, he needs to. I think he needs to benefit from a loan. I think I think that's what the club will do. I don't think they'll sell him. I think they'll definitely loan him out, try and get him first team football experience in the Premier League. Hopefully somewhere that'll get ample game time and ample opportunities to go and discover his killer instinct up front, because that's what you need. You need a killer's instinct, and I think Rashford this season has rediscovered his killer instinct in front of goal. Last season Rashford was the Anthony Elanga. I'm not unsure of myself. I took too many touches. We all know that Rashford was probably took longer for him to recover from his injuries and his surgery than we expect. Wasn't happy with the game. Obviously, his football the way it was. But this season, he's with Benny McCarthy's help. I'm sure of it. As people have pointed out, it's a switch that's flicked on his head. He's got that killer instinct. He's got that quote the Rocky film. He's got that eye of the tigers back in his eyes. I could do this, and I think we need a few more to step up. But yeah, it's going to be a big summer, mate, as you said.
Very big summer. Very, very, very big summer. And you mentioned Martial. I've got to say, for me, one of the things that always sticks out in my mind is just that little dink that he had. I can't remember quite who it was against, but he was in the most ridiculous of angles, and he's just like lofted it over the goalkeeper as if he was.
I think it was Ben Foster. I think that's why I remember it so well. He literally sat the defender down and just flicked it over his leg. Yeah. He's like, I can remember.
Just unreal. He's got so much skill. So we really do hope that he's going to be well and on the pitch. And talking about being well and on the pitch, Luke Shaw took part in his 250th appearance for Manchester United, which is a landmark and deserves a round of applause for you, sir. But
I'm Fred's 200.
Yeah,
sorry?
200.
Fred's 200 as well.
Yeah, Fred's 200th, absolutely. But unlike Fred, Luke Shaw got injured and had to be taken off, which is never the most enjoyable of things. But seems like the news is positive that it was merely precautionary and they think he's going to be okay. How important, then, do you think it is that we have Luke Shaw being available? Because we've spoken a bit about Rashford. We've got Malacia. We know that he can step in there if we need to. But Luke Shaw's been one of those who's had a good, consistent season. And is another one of those people that we need to have if we're going to have a run in to try and get another 2 trophies.
Yeah, it's a weird one for me, this, because I think Luke Shaw's had a quality season up until the Liverpool game, and then he sort of fell off a little bit. His form's dropped off a little bit. I was saying that I thought he was out of form enough to be dropped against Brentford yesterday, because I think Malacia's done well when he's come in. And to be honest, yesterday when he come on, he did really well. I think Luke Shaw is suffering from tiredness. I think he just needs a week off where he can have a bit of a rest. Otherwise, I think he's going to pick up another injury, to be honest. And I think some players suffer more than others in terms of form when they're a bit tired. And Shaw's definitely up there with you can't be playing him in so many games and his form will carry on, if that makes sense. He needs to have a little bit of a rest. So he's obviously going to be massive for us come the end of the season. I just hope he can have a bit of a rotation, let's say, and pick up his form a little bit more. Because I think the problem is we expect a lot from Luke Shaw because he was excellent last season. Well, not last season, the season before and the season before that. Him and Maguire had a really good partnership and it fell off a little bit. And they sort of affected each other. And then he played left centre-back and his form returned after he got dropped at the start of the season. I think sometimes Shaw just needs that little bit of a kick up the arse, to be honest. I think he needs that little bit of, you know what, you've dropped off a little bit. We're going to take you out. And he'll get that determination to come back. He's going to be massive. In terms of what we was talking about over-reliance on players. It's going to be a bit of a dodgy one to say, but it only seems to be teams that are pushing for the Premier League that aren't over-reliant on one player. And I know Man City, Haaland scored loads of the goals, etc. But they can play a different way where Haaland can be dropped and Alvarez will come in and score the goals, or Foden will step up with some goals. Arsenal's the same. If Saka doesn't score, it's Martinelli. If Martinelli has an off day, it's Odegaard. If Odegaard don't play very well, Xhaka scores, which is madness because he's turned into a crazily good midfielder this season out of absolutely nowhere. And then even Jesus going off injured. Eddie Nketiah has come in and scored 4 or 5 in the period that he was off. And it's the difference for me between challenging for a title and just being in this weird obscurity of 3rd to 6th. And it's that we've got 2 players on form or 3 players on form instead of just one. Liverpool had Mane and Salah, and they would cause mayhem. Mane's gone. I know the midfield's a bit of an issue, but they've dropped off massively. And it's the same with Spurs. It's Son and Kane. Son's not having his best season. Spurs are struggling because it's all Kane or it's nobody. And United need to find that way of unlocking more than just Rashford. So I think Rashford suits the style of play. He suited it under Ole because it's very similar. If anything, the defensive line's a bit deeper. We counter-attack a little bit more. So he suits that style of play and he thrives off it. We need to sort of adjust to... We were talking about the intelligence of Sancho. He's such an intelligent player and sometimes probably too intelligent for the players he's playing with in terms of he'll make a run that nobody spots. I'm adamant Donny van den Beek's very similar in terms of he will try a pass or a run that no one else has read and he will look terrible because he's played the ball. And if someone would have just had that intelligence as well, we would have been in. And I just genuinely think more players need to start fitting this system, but he's sort of relying on it because he knows it works. It's going to be interesting in the summer where he goes. Now, obviously, I'm old enough to remember Fergie's formidable years, and he would go out and we would have got Harry Kane and Ferguson from Brighton, and that would be done, and we'd have both of them for next season, and then he'd build another 3-year dynasty, and then another player would come to age, and he'd get rid, and David Beckham left, and I was absolutely gutted, and he brought in Ronaldo. Do you know what I mean? We need to be more ruthless in the transfer window than we are. We're not. It's not been good enough. I think someone mentioned it in the comments, lazy recruitment, and it's definitely been lazy recruitment. And it's not just like we brought in Sanchez for loads of money, massive contract. That's it. Yeah, lazy recruitment. We've failed to sort of bring in players for the future that of a bit more proven as well. So people will talk about age, and this Ferguson's an example for me. People say he's too young. Wayne Rooney wasn't too young at 16. Fabregas wasn't too young at 16. If a player's good enough, just chuck him in and he can learn on the job. And the best players in the world learn on the job. Mbappe, when he came through, 17, everyone saw what he was like. PSG signed him up and he smashed it ever since. We've just got to in essence, we've got to say to F, I think Connor's just literally took the words out of my mouth. You got to say to F, what do you want? And you need to go and back him and you need to get him what he wants. And because he knows the style he wants to play, it's up to the players to then step into that style he wants and say, right, this is my position. I want this position. And they've got to play well to do that. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The summer in particular is going to be good. I think we'll make a few moves. I just hope the thing that we'll try not to talk too much about is sorted by then, because it seems to have gone very quiet.
The only thing is when you bring in, sorry, Barry. The only thing is when you bring in like the younger players and the players that have got they're in like they're 18s, 16s, 17, 18, 19s year olds. This fan base ain't got the patience for them.
It's the new Twitter fan base, isn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, you have to look at Garnacho as one bad performance. Everyone's on his case, on his back. It's the same with Anthony Elanga. People get on his case too much. Even Elanga himself still a kid. He's still learning his game. Still learning his trade. Have we got the patience? Is the patience there? And I suppose it's the same for any club. I suppose you'll get them sections of fans that, well, don't have the patience for it. But that Ferguson kid, I do like the looks of him.
Oh, he
I'm
looks
sure he'll be able
fantastic.
to move in the summer, and whichever team's gonna, whichever team will sign him is going to benefit greatly from him over the course of the next decade, because he's going to be some player, or I hope he's going to be some player.
He gives that vibe. Do you not think it's the first player I've seen in a while where I've sat there and thought, you're still going to be a player in 10 years' time.
Yeah.
And you're going to be a good player in 10 years' time. And I've
Yeah.
not seen, it's been a while since I've seen a player like that in the Premier
I'd have
League.
to
That
agree.
I thought, wow.
I have to agree with that.
Well, there we go. So Winners is back in the comments, and he has said, top prospects from the likes of Monaco, Lyon, Juventus, who killed Camera alone, yet we get Weghorst, tragic. Listen,
I think Weghorst was somebody that, listen, Ten Hag has got we're skint, we're broke,
Yeah.
He's probably, Ten Hag's probably thought, I've got a limited time. I know this Weghorst lad. I think he could do a job for me. He could do a job. He may not score. He may not score in every game, but he'll do me a job. He'll do me the dirty the dirty stuff that I need. He'll do me whatever I tell him to do. He will do it, and he does the hard work. He does the hard graft. I think sometimes with Weghorst, he tries too hard, maybe, to try and impress, and I think that becomes a bit of a sticking point for him. Against Newcastle, he was riding. When I was at St James's Park that day, and people in the away end was laughing because he ended up riding on top of someone's back, giving a foul away, and I just think sometimes he's trying a little bit too hard to impress. I think if he just calms down and just let play his game, play to his own strengths. He's an experienced international footballer, to just be there for just carry out the manager's instructions to the letter. I think you'll probably see a better Weghorst than what we have done over the last couple of weeks, where he's just trying a little bit too hard. He probably knows the pressure's on him. He knows that what people are saying on social media. Footballers not stupid; they're not dumb. That information feeds back to them. Maybe he's trying a little bit too hard to win over the fan base. To win over those fans that are a little bit critical. But I just say to him, just calm yourself down, mate. Listen, you play to your strengths, and I'm sure by now his teammates knows what his strengths exactly are. Don't try overly too hard. And if you get us a handful, get us 5 or 6 more goals this season, that'd be brilliant. You know what I mean? Especially if those goals involve us going on to taking more silverware and to cementing our top 4 position, that'd be brilliant.
Absolutely, John. Just in fairness to Weghorst, he's held that number 9 position. We'd be worse off if we didn't get him. It's not the right choice long term. But he's done okay, which seems fair to me. Was you going to say something there, Dan?
Yeah, I was going to say, like, there was a stat flying around that he's started 20 games in a row, and that is more than Martial's done in 2 seasons. And that, I think that's one of the reasons why he came in. And it's literally just having that focal point that who's going to be fit. He's not going to let you down. He's going to give his best. You can play off him. We would definitely be worse off without him. He's coming. I think he's got a couple of assists as well for Rashford, and even some runs off the balls where he's got in some space that maybe he wouldn't have got. I agree with Johnny. He's obviously not one for the future in terms of you're not going to sign him to start every game next season. We need a proper number 9 or a proper striker to come in. Yeah, I'd agree he needs a rest as well. I bet 20 in a row for Man United is not easy, is it? But yeah,
especially when you consider those 20 games have been Sunday, Wednesday,
every
Sunday,
3
Wednesday,
days,
Sunday, Thursday. It's not been it's not like just playing 20 Saturdays on the trot.
No, and you think he was basically relaxing in the Turkish league as well. It's not, do you know what I mean? He's done really well. Like, there's a conversation on should we sign him at the end of the season, and this is where the problem comes in, because Martial's going to do it to us again. He's going to come back. He's going to play well. He's going to get a couple of goals. Everyone's going to think it's all rosy. He's going to have an injury breakdown. And then say we keep him over Weghorst next season and we get Harry Kane. When Harry Kane picks up a knock, is Martial going to be there to cover? or do you take Weghorst because you know he's going to be fit? And it does become a bit of an issue. This is why I would go and get 2 strikers.
It's similar to the Igalo situation, isn't it? A couple of years
Very
ago.
similar, yeah.
Very similar to the Igalo situation. So we shall see how it pans out in the summer.
I can remember when again, I'm showing my age here, we brought in Henrik Larsson. Alex Ferguson brought in Larsson. And I think he only scored something like 3 goals, but it was quite a successful loan spell because it's what we needed at the time, and it worked out all right.
All right, exactly. It was all right, and I think that's where we are. Dennis Norden, all right on the night, but yeah, not top draw. A little other fun fact for you there for Mr. Rashford. He is 5 goals away from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, so that could be the next one that he does once he scores his next goal. Before we move on to the last few bits of this sort of review, such as it's been, I wanted to talk about David De Gea because really there were three massive points in the game: Rashford scoring, Luke Shaw going off injured, and then David De Gea. And I say that as a double because you mentioned it already. There was a bit of quite an unbelievable back pass really that put him under pressure that he didn't necessarily need to be under when you know that he's not necessarily the best kicker in the land. Smacked against the player and went wide, which was lucky. But then he showed just why he is, I suppose, if I have to be neutral about this, polarizing opinion, insofar as it was just he put his body, his life, his very health on the line to stand in front of the Brentford attack there and just take an absolute battering whilst also saving the ball. So I know how much we like the
kids, does he?
Sorry?
Has Dad already had kids?
I hope so.
Yeah, I do after yesterday as well.
I'm not sure if we'll be able to anymore. But I know how much we love our stats. I know that was a banned word on Tuesday. Not on my watch.
To shove them up my arse. It was so funny.
Not on my watch. I love a statistic. So I thought, we at United have been blessed with goalkeepers. Why not have a little look? Because David De Gea is only 8 appearances away from becoming, 8 appearances from being the joint most, 9 appearances away from being the most capped goalkeeper in Manchester United history.
Which you'll get this season.
Which he will get this season because nobody else is going to come in and take that. So whether we like it or not, I heard you mention the name, he might be a legend, possibly was mentioned. I think it was John Commode who said that. He might possibly be a legend because he's going to be the most capped goalkeeper in Manchester United's history, full stop, barring a ridiculous injury. So I thought I'd have a look at quite how things stood there. The person I said he's going to overtake will be Stepney, who played 539 games and conceded 631. So that's more than a goal a game. 175 clean sheets, though. Peter Schmeichel, my personal favourite. Don't think there was any better, certainly not in my lifetime. Played only 398, but conceded 331, so less than a goal a game. And he had 180 clean sheets. That was obviously the one that De Gea took over. Gary Bailey, remember him? 161 clean sheets, 365 games, which is a pretty good record. Only 340 conceded, so less than a goal a game. Alfred Stewart, and I remember him. You shouldn't do. He's from the 1920s. There's a reason you haven't heard of him. 326 games played, 525 goals conceded. So he was never going to be mentioned in the same breath as the others. Edwin van der Sar, 135 clean sheets out of 266 games, the least out of anyone on my list. 205 conceded, less than a goal a game. David De Gea, more clean sheets than any other goalkeeper, about to become the most capped goalkeeper of all time for United. 531 games so far, 578 conceded. Are we saying that in order to be sorry Stu, I'm going to use the words, world-class goalkeeper that plays for Manchester United without there being any problems, that your goal difference effectively, your goals per game conceded, has to be less than 1? Because I'm taken from these statistics. Peter Schmeichel doesn't get his name mentioned too much as being a bad goalkeeper. Edwin van der Sar is rightly loved. Would have played more if it wasn't for that we bought him when he was a little bit older. And Gary Bailey. 3 fantastic goalkeepers. I forgot to mention Harry Gregg. Sorry, I put him on my list as well because, bit of a soft spot for Harry. 247 games, but 394 conceded, which is probably, apart from Alfred Stewart, the worst out of the 6 or 7 that I've looked at. So what is it that makes a goalkeeper good? You mentioned, Dan, I'm going to give you the chance to have this conversation now without anybody shouting at you. What is it?
Sure.
What is it about David De Gea? Because I still think he can do a job. I did agree with Dan. I think there are other parts of the pitch that we need to work on before we worry about David De Gea. But he is polarising in a way that Schmeichel and Van der Sar haven't been. So what is it? Do we really, really, really need to go and get another goalkeeper? What's the crack?
Ultimately, the best way I can describe it is we've seen Man City be close. They made all these signings: right back, left back, centre back, striker, centre mid, and they was close. Liverpool defenders bringing through right backs, Salah, Mane, they was close. It wasn't until they got the goalkeepers that they needed, i.e., they got rid of Hart. They tried Bravo, it didn't work, so they got Edison. As soon as they got Edison, the titles started coming. I know they were spending money, etc. Liverpool exactly the same. They got Van Dijk, but it didn't really work until Alisson came. And it just changes the pattern of play, their ability to keep the ball, the confidence. Like, for me, it's I shouldn't really say this on my United channel, but Alisson's the best goalkeeper in the world, and it's not even close. His ability. Yes, he makes silly mistakes in terms of what we saw David De Gea do yesterday. He holds the ball too long sometimes, and it'll get pinched off him, and they'll score a goal. But what he brings to the team far outweighs any mistakes that he makes, because he'll set up a goal randomly with a 60-yard pass. I think he did it. In fact, I think he did it against us in the 7-0. I think he launched the ball to Salah, and we was instantly, they was in, and they scored again. And he did it a couple of years ago. I know. He did it a couple of years ago. Same thing, long ball to Salah. He outstripped Dan James, and they scored again. For me, it's such an issue. David De Gea is such an issue, and it's becoming an issue because no matter what defense you put in front of him, they start to get worse over time. So they start off really good, and the stats start to edge backwards. The defense starts to edge backwards. And I mean, there's a meme going around that he's been through like 4 or 5 different centre-back pairings, and it's just steadily getting worse. And it comes from things like he won't command his box, so he won't come and collect a cross, and will concede 2 goals against Newcastle, both scored from inside the 6-yard box. A world-class goalkeeper, it will happen, but it won't happen every game. Josh Murphy came out afterwards. I think it might not be Josh, actually. I can't remember his name. But Murphy came out afterwards and said, we targeted him. As soon as we saw that he was taking goal kicks slowly and he was not comfortable with the ball at his feet, we targeted him. And they would do it at corners. They'll target him, surround him, nudge him. And they do it to other goalkeepers, but it's not half the problem because they'll just push him out of the way and take the ball. There was a comparison yesterday with Raya and De Gea. And I actually thought De Gea played really well yesterday because he was, all the things I've listed there, he wasn't doing. He was coming for crosses. He was demanding the ball and like, I'm going to play it out from the back. The error that he made against Tony, he just held the ball too long. But Martinez probably shouldn't have passed it there. But there was a pass to Dallo and he was just, Ramsdale's another one. And to be fair, just sidetrack for Jarvis there. I thought Ramsdale was rubbish, absolutely rubbish. And he's gone to Arsenal and he should be England's number 1, if we're honest. But yeah, I think goalkeepers are a bigger issue in modern football than it ever used to be. It's not necessarily again, Jarvis spot on. It's not necessarily the best goalkeeper in the world that you need. You just need a goalkeeper that's going to fit the system that you want to play. Ten Hag doesn't want to play with a defensive line that's basically on the edge of the box, scared that the ball is going to go over the top. He likes to play with a high line, and we're not going to do that under De Gea. So I think that limits quite a lot of what we're doing. I mean, we'll have to double check that, but I'm pretty sure City started to dominate once Edison came in, and there was a reason that he dropped Joe Hart and he got rid of Bravo when it didn't work out for him. I think they spent quite a lot of money on centre backs and goalkeepers and right backs at the time. They went through about 5 right backs, I think.
I mean, they did win the title with Joe Hart, didn't they? Because wasn't he in goal when
the hero moment with Joe
Weghorst
Hart.
stole it from us in the last minute?
Yeah, but I'm talking about in terms of pure domination. So, like, the whole brand of Pep's football was implemented once he got his goalkeeper. So they started then having 78% of the ball. They started passing teams off the pitch because Edison can do that. They can knock the ball long. They can go short. He can command it. And he's another one. Edison will make so many mistakes a season that you think, oh, what are you doing? But his ability on the ball far outweighs the mistakes that he's going to make. For me, David De Gea, I would go back to probably 17-18 season where he was easily the best goalkeeper in the world because his save XG percentage was something like 27. He'd saved 27 goals and he was pulling off ridiculous saves out of absolutely nowhere. But his save percentage this season is in something like the 66th percentile. So he's not even doing well at that. He claimed 11 crosses from something like a 380 this season. Last season, it was even less in terms of crosses claimed. In terms of what we want to see going forward, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. And I understand what people say in terms of there might be positions that are more important or imperative. But if that's the case, we're going to have to probably play a similar sort of football next season. So Ten Hag's not going to let his defensive line out if he's worried about his goalkeeper. And just to point out as well, in the last 3 weeks, Ten Hag's took 2 little digs at De Gea in terms of his match interviews afterwards. So he said yesterday that David made a mistake. He kept hold of the ball too long. He should have played it quicker. And it's interesting because you don't normally see him like personally criticize a player. It's very rare that he comes out and specifically says a player's made a mistake. He'll say that we're a team and the team made a mistake. But on the 2 occasions, he said, David's made a mistake. Like, we need to learn from it and move forward. So it'd be interesting to see how we move forward. I don't think if you said to me, will Man United win the Premier League with David De Gea in there? I don't see the argument where you could say we will, because it's just all the stats back it up, but the eye test as well. So he does make great saves, like against Newcastle. He made a really good save. Tipped it over the bar, and I was like, how's he saved that? But in reality, it should never have come to that because the first ball in should have been catching because it was in the middle of his 6-yard box. And
Is there an argument as well, though? Is there an argument as well that is also what you employ defenders for? I mean, I get what you're saying, 100%. We'd love to see them come out and have these crosses collected, but we've known this for 12 years. This isn't a new revelation. People aren't sitting there and going, "Oh my goodness, David De Gea is not collecting."
No, yeah, but I think this is where it's changed, and this is what I mean. So
because John says we won the title with Bosnich and Bartes, that's a fair point. They're not exactly
was an absolute master, and football was different back then. It wasn't. It's not like it is now. It's so much more possession based and keeping care of the football. And for me, it's a trust issue. Like, do you trust that De Gea is going to rescue the defense if we push up the pitch? I would say 99% of people would say no. You wouldn't expect him. Like yesterday, you spoke about his great save that he made, body on the line, ball hit him in the penis, foot hit him in the penis. Do you know what I mean? It was an amazing save. He actually should have been out to the ball quicker. So he sort of stalls before he runs, and it's just because he's not used to it. And again, not to say it on this channel, but if you watch Alison's out and collecting the ball, and it's probably not even half as much of a save because he's there quicker. And I just think going forward, we need someone that really can push us up and control his box. Whether that's I just think football has moved on. So I would say that David De Gea is a legacy goalkeeper. His job as a goalkeeper was to keep the ball out of the net, any means necessary. Head, foot, penis. Do you know what I mean? That was what he was there to do. And now football's more about we need to keep possession. We need to control the box. If the ball goes over the top, you need to be like a third centre back. Obviously, it depends on the manager, but I think that's the way F wants to play.
Yeah. I'm not convinced that word's been used on All for United before. We managed to get in there maybe 4 or 5 times. So good job there. A couple of things just before I bring Benny in for his point. Colin's put we should be keeping David De Gea. The goalkeeper isn't just about keeping the ball out anymore. In the same way, attackers' job isn't just to score; they track back and help. I suppose my argument back to that would be, well, take Weghorst. You know, he was literally in the place where it is your job to score. He's doing the tracking back and helping, but if you're not doing the main part of your job well, then you're going to get questioned because everybody can put their effort in. And I think David De Gea generally does his job well. You don't get over 180 clean sheets, 1 in every 3, by being useless. We're going to come to Jarvis's question for Benny in just a second. Obviously, we had King T'Challa come in. He has since apologised for using the word clown. You're quite right. He's not in a circus. You shouldn't have used that. But the topic is polarising. Fans don't dismiss the fact that he should be replaced. We just don't like the venom from our own fans who need rivals, which is a fair point. And that's kind of where I wanted to go. I think, Benny, that is there a little bit of David De Gea there perhaps questioning himself based on, because he must get an idea, you know, the litmus test of what the fans are thinking. And Jarvis asked the question. Oh, I've lost you, Jarvis. Where did you go? It was up here. There we go. The hypothetical question. Do you think Ferguson would have kept De Gea all these years if he was still the manager? So if we'd have had Ferguson, I mean, Ferguson wouldn't have still been the manager if he was still here, because they wouldn't have accepted the number of trophies he won, I don't think. But in this hypothetical world that Jarvis has built, would Fergie still have David De Gea in goal? And more importantly, would you?
I think Ferguson would have done. But then again, football has moved on. Ferguson was always great at adapting his style. And I don't think this is a difficult one, because De Gea, for me, does what De Gea is supposed to do, and that keeps the ball out the back of the net. With some of the saves he pulls off, my jaw drops to the floor sometimes, because I've never seen anything like it. So some things he has no right to get to, he gets to. He has improved a little bit with his kicking. Having said that, when he first came, he had a really good. I can't remember what the term is. It's where they sort of screw the ball and it spins. It spins out to the side. He used to play them balls to Young and Valencia quite well. When Young and Valencia used to play in as wingers and not fullbacks, he used to have that. He used to have a great out ball to them all the time. He used to be one of those traits that David De Gea used to have really well. He used to be quick. He has the ball in his hands. He's quick, and his sidewinder pass. That's what it's called. And it kicks through the ball and it spins to the side, and it curls into Valencia or into Ashley Young, whichever side he's aiming for. And he used to do that particularly well. He doesn't do that anymore. Doesn't do those kicks anymore. And what annoys me a little bit is there's obviously an issue with his kicking, or an issue out when he's played out the back, because the fact that they've got Martinez now takes his goal kicks, taps to the side to De Gea, then they'll play it back to Martinez, or I'll play it to Varane, and all of a sudden the opposition are right on top of you. I don't for life don't for life. When you got De Gea, I don't know for the life of me why we're playing that. I'd rather him just boot it down the field, get it down the field, give us a breather. What's all this tip tap to the side and opposition straight onto you, straight on top of you, and then that doesn't help De Gea either, because he's under pressure immediately, because the opposition will close you down. The opposition wins the ball 9 times out of 10. They've already got a shot on goal. Why we're not playing to De Gea's strength is another way of looking at it. Fantastic shot stopper that he is. We know he's not very good at this kicking game. Instead of for goal kicks, let him go long. We've got Weghorst on the pitch. But then again, that's one of Weghorst's downsides. For quite a tall guy, he can't jump. You know, he's useless in the air. But, you know, why we're not looking to De Gea's strengths? You know, why are we looking to play this tippy-tappy football out from the back if it cannot be done? We say as match-going fans all the time, why are we passing out from the back? We cannot do it. We need to stop it, because we're just putting ourselves under needless pressure. you know, and for De Gea as well, he's had so many different centre halves and different defenders in front of him throughout this whole time as well. So Smalling, Jones, Rio, Vidic, etc., etc. Johnny Evans. He's had so many defenders in there. He's never had a settled back line. And even this season, at times, Varane's been out, you know, whereas Van der Sar always had Rio and Vidic in front of him. Schmeichel always had every game Stam, Johnson in front of him, or Bruce and Pallister. Every game they'd be available for. De Gea, you could argue, has never had a settled back line. There's always somebody coming at that back line, injured, illness, whatever. Back in the day, when you mentioned these great goalkeepers, all us, especially in the case of Van der Sar and Schmeichel, they always had a settled back line. Always had a settled back line. You could, 9 times out of 10, you knew what the back line was going to be. You know, and even those that did come into that back line, they were world class players to step into those positions. That treble winning year, you have 4 world class centre halves. Because Henningberg was a quality centre half, as well. People forget that, and Wes Brown was up and coming around that time as well. You had players like that, Rio Vidic, Johnny Evans wasn't bad, Gerard Piqué was around then as well, etc., etc. Wes Brown was still there. So you always had people that would come in and do a job. De Gea's had people come in. You've had people playing makeshift centre halves, Michael Carrick. You've had Darren Fletcher's been in there. The list is endless. So he's never had a settled back four to sort of start really getting to know a short-based game. To start passing, to start trusting. And the other thing to say as well, when you play out from the back like that, you need to have players comfortable on the ball. There's not a lot of people in that team that are comfortable on the ball. Martinez is comfortable on the ball, yes. Varane, yes. I get that. Luke Shaw, yes. Dalot, probably not so much, I don't think. Wan-Bissaka, not so much, I don't think. Their games are tightly something different, that they bring different qualities to the side. Malacia, I think he's great for coming out the back. He doesn't matter. He's comfortable with the ball at his feet. But sometimes you give it to Dalot. I've noticed he goes shot Dalot. Dalot starts panicking. He's like, where can I go? Starts turning back in on himself. Starts questioning, instead of having the belief into his ability, So we need to be wary of who's in front of him as well and who's confident. Harry Maguire he panics as well when he's on the ball and there's pressure. Same with Victor Lindelof, starts panicking a little bit. They're not got coolers under pressure, whereas your Varane and your Martinez, yes, they're cool under pressure. They've got the little know-how. They've got the little tricks to get them out of a sticky situation. Or they've got the foresight to know, oh dear, there's trouble coming. I'm just going to hammer it out, get out of danger. Let us regroup. Goalkeeping, I agree, it's changed so much. As I played in goals from the league, week in, week out, Good. I always got told, don't fuck around with it on your own area, get rid. But obviously the game has changed, somebody said about Ramsdale, obviously, shit goalkeeper. He was shit. He was. Goes to Arsenal, looks absolutely class. I wonder if that could be the same, could be said for someone like Dean Henderson, if he's not burnt all his bridges at Manchester United. One good thing about Dean Henderson is he's all right at playing with his feet. Probably not to the technical ability of an Alisson or of anything like that ilk, but probably a little bit more comfortable at that. He likes to claim crosses, not put up any trees at Nottingham Forest. I know he's been injured now. For a good several weeks now, but. Do you give someone like that a chance again? Do you think he's still on our books, or do you look to bring somebody new in? I don't think replace De Gea is our number one priority in the summer, but it's possibly the priority in the next summer. Do you bring somebody in that suits your game, that suits the Ten Hag style of game, that suits the modern era? I still think De Gea could do a job. I still think he'll probably be. In fact, I wouldn't be upset if he is number one next season still. But you look at the youth side as well, the way the youth teams play out as well now. When you look at the 21s, you look at the 18s. A lot of them are now starting to play out from the back now, looking a bit more better, looking a bit more comfortable. It is your new day footballer versus your more like of a footballer that David De Gea was playing back when he was a teenager, a kid, whatever. Football has changed, it has evolved, like the game always has done. But I just think that criticisms pile on David De Gea far too much because we're allowing it to as a team. We're not seeing it as an issue there about his kicking, or his passing from out the back. Sometimes his passing's all right, when he's got a bit, when he's not we're not under too much pressure. Teams are not pressing us. He's got a bit of time to think about. His passing's all right. It's just when teams are under pressure or we're under the cosh or something, his kicking game goes to shreds. And he's never been the commanding goalkeeper. When he came in, I remember his first game was at Old Trafford against Arsenal, one of his first games, and obviously he saved that Van Persie penalty. But I always remember the Arsenal fans chanting "dodgy keeper" because he fumbled through crosses. He looked nervous. He was just a skinny lad in his big baggy United goalkeeping shirt. But time after time and time after time again, David De Gea has always proved doubt was wrong somehow, some way. Back, he's people said he was done and dusted. He's come back. He's got himself to a reasonably good level again. He pulls off saves that no other goalkeepers can pull off. Sometimes, like how the hell has he done that against Newcastle? Like double save. In fact, how has he done that? Yes, all right, fair enough. People could say, "Oh, the attacker's really shot it out," but he's still there. He's still pulling off saves that some goalkeepers can only dream of. It's just about playing to the strengths. It's also about David De Gea, giving David De Gea the time to adapt to the Erik ten Hag way of playing as well. It's easier when you're outfield. If you don't have that pressure of being the goalkeeper, the person stopping the ball out. You're working constantly in training on passing and moving, patterns of play, and that. As a goalkeeper, you're not working on that as much as your outfield players. You're working on your primary job, and that's to stop the ball going in the back of the net. And I think he deserves the opportunity to have this season and to go away in the summer and to really, really learn and train hard in becoming better at passing out from the back, and become better understanding the Erik ten Hag way of playing, understanding the modernisation of football. And I just hope that, and I remember he's had a constant evolving changes of goalkeeping coaches throughout his career as well. That's a revolving door as well, and that's probably not helping because they're bringing on their own ideas and they're bringing their own style and their own ways of getting David De Gea to develop as a player. So you need that. So he also needs that consistency in coaching. But I hope in the summer he goes away with a coach or with a personal coach, whatever it may be, or a coach from the club, really works on his kicking game, really works on, being under pressure, being confident, works on trying to be a little bit more commanding. Because, listen, the guy wants to stay. He's desperate to stay. He's willing to take a pay cut. Obviously, I don't know how true it is about his latest contract talks, whether they broke down or whatever it may be. I don't know if that's the truth, because we know sometimes in the press it's never completely 100% truthful. But, if he wants to stay, looking to reduce his wages, he loves the football club, David De Gea, and he's always had, in his career, points where he's always had to answer difficult questions, and he's always 9 times out of 10 always come up with an answer. He's always improved somewhere, and this is his biggest, probably his biggest challenge of his career now. I want to stay at United for the next 2 or 3 seasons, then maybe move on, see my career out of somewhere, or if he wants to stay and see his career out at United and help bring through the next evolution of goalkeeper, help bring out somebody that will be his long-term replacement. He needs to go away in the summer, really work on his game. And you can't do that when you're throughout a busy season, playing 2 matches a week, because you're constantly always on the go. But I hope during pre-season, even then pre-season, test him. Look, David, we're going to do this. We're going to test you against this opposition. You're going to see a lot more of the ball than we used to, especially if we're comfortable in the game. see what you could do, see how your passing is. I want to see you come from more crosses, whereas in a league game, you can't really go, David, I don't want you glued on your line. I want you to come for them crosses, every single cross. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously 3 points results are absolutely mattering when we're chasing silverware in top 4. But in pre-season where the games don't matter, you can say to David De Gea, listen, pressure's off. If we concede, but I want to see you dominate your area a bit more. I want to see you be a bit more vocal. I want to see you just looking for the ball a bit more, looking for that pass a bit quicker. Don't second guess yourself. Just play it naturally. Be natural. And then in time, you can be, even if you've been in a younger goalkeeper to work under him, but that goalkeeper in your long-term game is going to be your long-term number 1. You could say, look, David, cup games will rotate you out with this, especially the early rounds will take you out for this particular goalkeeper. We're building him up. Would you be able to? And I'm sure he would go, yeah, I would love to, have
Can
a
I
hand.
just quickly jump back in on that? I agree with like 100% of what you're saying, and I was defending De Gea this morning on Twitter, in fact, because he hits a goal kick out against Brentford. The striker doesn't jump for the ball. The second ball beats all of the midfield, and then Varane gets outpaced and they get a shot from where he gets kicked in the you-know-what. And they was blaming De Gea, and it's like, well, he just took a goal kick. And that's where I agree in the terms of, like, you don't need the venom from your own fan base. But at the same time, what you're saying about the coaches, there's renowned articles and conversation with coaches where everything you're saying now, they've said they've asked for, and he's flat refused, and he's not done it. And he's refused to train on coming for crosses. Louis van Gaal's coach was really critical of him, said it's one of the worst goalkeepers he's ever worked with because he wouldn't listen to what they were saying. And then my other issue, what you're saying about him, would he drop back to sort of help bring through the next generation? I hope he would, but I think what's old for a goalkeeper? 39?
Well, that's what I mean. Goalkeepers
What's David De Gea?
playing their 40s at top level.
He's got to be 33.
32, 33 now, isn't he?
Yeah. So he's I would say he's still got another 5-6 years at being a really top class goalkeeper. So I don't think he's going to want to step back. My other thing is
33.
So if he was, let's say he turns down a contract at Man United and it doesn't go through, where does he go that he's going to earn £200,000 to £250,000 a week? Because I can't see a club that would be jumping through hoops to get them. You've got Atletico Madrid have got Oblak, Real Madrid have got Quartar. You've got, you could probably say a team like Chelsea might come in for him because depending on who they get. But if they get Enrique from the Spanish side, definitely not because he was dropped by Spain. So I don't think the options for De Gea to leave are massive.
I feel like I need to jump in here because we've been talking a lot about his stats and everything that's been said. But you look at his Premier League statistics this season, the only person that's got more clean sheets than David De Gea this season is Nick Pope from Newcastle.
Yeah, that's because our home record's phenomenal, isn't it? In terms of,
it's irrelevant where you get.
Yeah.
A clean sheet is a clean sheet, isn't it?
I don't personally think. When I say I think David De Gea needs to be replaced, and it's important for us to replace him, I'm not necessarily saying he's a bad goalkeeper. He's still an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. I just don't think it's what Ten Hag wants going forward. Now, if Ten Hag decides we'll keep De Gea for next season, fantastic. He's more than capable of being a Man United goalkeeper. He's proven it for 10 years. I just think that it would slow the progression of Ten Hag's team a little bit, if that makes sense. But it's annoying because it was like a false storm for me yesterday because I genuinely thought he was fantastic in everything that he did yesterday. There was a point where he comes out and Varane heads the ball away, but he basically nearly punches Varane's head off. And that's what I've been desperate to see for weeks. If you're going to punch your defender in the face, but you get the ball away, I don't care. Just do it. Come out. Show a bit of like bottle, metal. Jarvis has just put on there. That's the really interesting question for me. If De Gea was to, like I've said many times this season, if we signed David Raya from Brentford and we had Raya and De Gea next season as our 2 goalkeepers, that would be fantastic. Because you've got a goalkeeper there that will need... David De Gea knows the pressures of playing for Man United. And that ability that he could pass to Raya in that instance would be amazing. And personally, I'd still have David De Gea as number 1 with Raya learning from him, because it's such a... We've all been there through the years of Taibbi and Carroll, and where the goalkeeper just couldn't cope with the pressure of playing for Man United. So it's massive. I hope we can. I hope we could do that. I'm not sure that's David De Gea is going to have that. I think he wants to be number 1 because he's good enough to be number 1 at a lot of football teams. I just think football's changing slightly, and he's not sort of... Whether he can change with it, is he prepared to change with it? It'd be interesting. But I think sort of De Gea's biggest payday or biggest contract would be at United, staying at United. And I think it's his guaranteed first team football if he does that. I'll defend David De Gea like yesterday when he plays well. I said at like mid through the season, we shouldn't be surprised anymore if we get beat. If he gets beat 6 yards out from an header, we shouldn't be surprised, because it's been happening for 10 years. But if he can play like he did yesterday in more games and get a little bit quicker on the ball, I don't necessarily think it's his quality. I think it's the quickness sometimes of his play. I'll back him. I've not seen enough in the last couple of seasons that would suggest that he's going to be able to play this formation with Ten Hag. Like I talk about Solskjaer's football quite a lot. I think we was top 3 and top 5 for defenses in Europe for 2 seasons on Solskjaer, and that was with Lindelof, De Gea, and Maguire. And it proves he can do it in a certain way, but I just think it's an interesting one. I'll never criticize him if he doesn't deserve it, or I don't think he deserves it. Like I'll literally spent the morning defending him today, because he was brilliant yesterday, and I thought it was really harsh that people were criticizing normal goal kicks, and that's where you step into Maguire's territory, where the man could score a 40-yard volley and they'd say, "Oh, he shinned it," and it's
I think this is the thing. People are starting to jump on it, as they have done for many years, and we are going to have to move on. I will just finish with a final statistic that I've dug up there. You were mentioning about David Raya. He's currently top of the statistics charts in number of saves made in the Premier League this season, with 121. David De Gea is in 10th with 76, which is only 2 less than a World Cup winner in Emiliano Martinez. So there we go. Definitely. Bottom of that, by the way, Edison with about 32. So let's all have a little laugh at City there, shall we? Just the 32 saves. I just very briefly want to get your thoughts on the weekend. Obviously, Everton's going to be... It's a massive game. It really is massive. Every game is massive now. You could argue they're all cup finals. Everton stuck on 27 points near the bottom of the table, could easily be dragged in to the relegation battle and to the relegation places, more importantly, if we beat them. Of course, we need to beat them in order to maintain pace with Newcastle and to try and create some sort of gap with Spurs. Everton haven't had the best of times when they've met us generally. They'd have a little 1-0 win against us in 22, but other than that, not doing too great. We beat them more often than not. Still no Casemiro for us, though.
Was that his last game?
I think so, but he's still suspended. Still no Luke Shaw. Still no Donny, obviously. Still no Christian Eriksen, although he is back in training. And obviously still no Garnacho. For them, no Andros Townsend, no Dominic Calvert-Lewin, no Ruben Vinagre, which sounds like something you would put on a salad. And Abdoulaye Doucouré is, of course, suspended as well. Not that I've ever eaten a salad, so I don't really know if you would put that on there or not. Very quickly, 2 minutes, how do you see the weekend going? Especially based on everything that we've just seen. Benny, you can kick us off on that
one. Just the 3 points. That's all I'm concentrating on, the big 3 points again. It's a Sean Dyche team, isn't it, now? We know how Dyche likes to play his football. So, and I just hope we just batter 4 or 5 past Pickford, because I can't stand that guy. I really can't.
Good old T-Rex arms.
Yeah, T-Rex arms, yeah. We just batter 4 or 5 past him. But listen, this is Everton we're talking about. Everton have over the years made it difficult for us. The 3-3 draws at Old Trafford, a few years back is Kate's centre point. We struggled this season at Goodison Park to beat them. I'd take Cristiano Ronaldo, to come and save our bacon on that one. Get us the 3 points there. So they're never the easiest teams to play, Everton. Despite their league form and their position in the league table, they're scrapping for their lives as well. So there's never a given a team that's scrapping for relegation, or scrapping to keep in the Premier League. They're going to be wanting to fight for every point. They're going to be hungry as well, and probably even hungrier than Newcastle were to beat us last weekend. So we need to make sure that we're hungry as well. We're even more hungrier. We want that top four. We want that. We want to keep that running momentum going. Eriksen could be a surprise inclusion on the bench. I know you said that he won't be. He could be. It wouldn't surprise me if you see him on the bench. Whether he'll get any game time or not, I don't know. But that would be a big boost if he does indeed make the bench. I know every day he's improving. Every day he's just that bit close to coming back. But I still think we've got enough there to beat Everton comfortably. I'm going to go for a 3-0. I'm going to go for 3-0.
3-0.
Yeah, I just
another clean sheet, you mean?
Yeah, clean sheet, a 3-0. And I just think that as long as we play our game, we'll go in there hungry, and we go in there just to just to make sure we get them 3 points. Just don't play their football. We start playing their football, start letting them dictate, which I don't think that we will do at Old Trafford, because, as you mentioned, Barry, Old Trafford's become a fortress this season. Teams are starting to fear and intimidate coming to Old Trafford, and I think that's why you probably saw the performance that you saw from Brentford yesterday as well. I think that's that little bit of intimidation factors coming back, especially at Old Trafford. Teams know away from home they can get us a little bit more, but at home at Old Trafford with the crowd behind us and the record that we've got at Old Trafford now since Ten Hag's took over, and it's becoming that fortress. It's become that place to fear again for the opposition. That's comfortable 3-0 for me, mate. Hopefully.
Sounds good. Connor's gone for 2-1. He's always worried with Sean Dyche. John Commode said 3-1 United. Rashford will score. But he hasn't said
loves
it.
His 3-1s.
He does, but he hasn't said it.
He does like that,
so I'm a bit worried there. I'm hoping that's going to be for the 3 and not for the 1 there. Dan, we're on the back of some pretty up and down results. Obviously, we've had the loss to Newcastle, but 3 wins and a draw in our last 5. Everton, 1 win against Brentford, funnily enough, 1-0. 3 draws, and of course, a 4-0 battering at the hands of Arsenal. They haven't won an away game in their last 12 matches. As we just said, we've got a bit of a fortress going at Old Trafford. Where do you see this game going?
It's a must win for me. It's for United. It's a must win. We really need to wrap up this top 4 quickly. I'd be much more comfortable that it's just sooner it's wrapped up. I can remember watching it's going to sound really sad, but it was a managerial breakdown about Sean Dyche and the way he plays football. The man is an absolute tactician. His knowledge of football is incredible. The patterns of play that he chooses to play. And honestly, I watched this program and then his first game against Everton, his first game for Everton, and it was like a carbon copy of what he was showing you on a table and how they played. And he just had him at it straight away. The first game, he had him at what he wanted. It's a worry because we haven't looked in the best of form. But we said this on the last show. We wouldn't keep the ball. It was a bit of a worry. The home ground's becoming a fortress. Old Trafford's getting back to what it should be. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping just for, I'll say 2-1. 2-1 win. We just need that win. That's the most important thing for me. Get the win, get it over the line. It'll be interesting for me to see if Garner starts for Everton, because he had a run out against Spurs. I watched that game, and after the Doucouré red card, Everton were excellent. They was better than Spurs. And, I mean, Michael Keane in that shot as well. Wow. And then they probably should have beat Spurs, to be honest. They probably went away from that game, even with 10 men for most of it, thinking they should have won. Dyche and Everton are always going to be tricky. So I'm going to say a 2-1. And Rashford's got to score, because if he don't, then we're probably not going to get 2.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Fernandez might be able to do it.
Yeah.
I've got to say, I have missed Sean Dyche and his little gravelly voice and the way he likes to talk.
The Ginger Mourinho.
Exactly that. So, I listen. I'm quite looking forward to the game. It should be a good one. It's live, of course, on BT Sport. Should you not be like Benny, finding a place to sit inside the Theatre of Dreams. Whatever happens, we'll be here Saturday, 8 p.m, to dissect everything that's happened. And I hope you'll be joining us too. I have to say I'm there because Connor got involved again. Dyche is a managerial icon, and he is, to be fair. He's got the abilities. We know that. But a bit like Big Sam was never really given a chance higher up, and then the minute he did get a chance higher up, totally lost the plot and did things he shouldn't do. So yeah, never mind. Not that Sean Dyche did, obviously. Legal team, step back, not saying he's done anything wrong. So it's all good. But yes, he should have been given a chance, is what I'm getting at. So yes, join us Saturday anyway. Saturday about 8 p.m. We are hoping to have Sir Andrew Wall returning. He's also a regular match going fan, so it should be someone who can give us a little bit more insight into what's happened in that game. We'll all have watched the entire 90 minutes. So hopefully, really, really good. Benny, pleasure to have you back on. Thank you so much for giving up part of your evening there to talk us through it. Where could people find you should they wish to hear more of your inane ramblings?
Probably on Twitter. It's probably the best one. Like it says on there, Benny MUFC. That's probably the way you can see me ramble on the most.
There you go. So if you enjoyed what Benny's had to offer, go there. If, of course, you're wondering why it is that Dan doesn't write his name at the bottom there, Dan, RP stands for something really interesting, like really precious or royal protector or something.
Role play.
It's Ready
Role
Player.
play.
It's a book series, sorry.
I know, you tell me that every time, and every time I forget, I don't know.
Everyone gets confused.
But there we go. Either way, that's where we could find you on Twitter also. So please do. And absolutely, Connor, this is true. You can find Benny at every United game going, providing he doesn't have to cut himself in half to attend them both. So there we go. Jarvis, you're right. Everton have drastically changed under Dyche. They will be compact. They will be difficult to beat. I think 3-1's probably a bit tricky. 2-0 probably is what we can look at there. But either way, come and join us Saturday 8 o'clock. Find out what's going on. Women's channel, there might be something tomorrow. There might not. Depends on what Connor's doing. If you're interested, it's England 1, Brazil 1. They've just equalised. I don't know what that means. It's a trophy. Could mean it goes straight to penalties. So if you enjoy a penalty shootout, whack that on. It's on ITV. Failing that, we'll probably be going back on Monday on the women's channel for sure. And then, of course, there'll be a Tuesday topic night, which will be great fun. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again Saturday night.